Hello and welcome to Mastering the Wheel. I hope everyone's doing well today. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I use my program BetMaster to create progressions and then have that program automatically execute bets for me. I'm also going to be showing you how I use a formula and apply it to every progression that I use, and how using that formula and taking a mathematical approach to roulette increases the win rate, and I can keep my bankroll right where it belongs, in my pocket. So if you guys are interested in that, then keep on watching and you're going to learn some valuable information. Now, on that note, if you guys, before we get started, don't mind hitting that subscribe button and the like button, it helps out the channel a great deal and I very much appreciate it. So thank you for that. And one more thing I want to mention is on February 1st, I released a video where I referenced a roulette strategy called Stairway to Heaven. And I found this on the Casino Matchmaker's YouTube channel. And I must have missed who he referenced for the actual creator of this strategy is. So I was just informed that the strategy was actually created by Strauss House Roulette. So I just wanted to make sure that credit was given where it was due. And so thank you, Strauss House Roulette, for creating the strategy and making it available to the community. I had a lot of fun playing with it, so thanks again. Okay, guys, now let's get into the video. I'm going to show you my program here. This is BetMaster. And we're just going to start creating a progression, and I'll explain things as we go along. So I do that here in the Bets tab, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit Create. And we're going to start by naming it. So I'm going to call it Dozens and Columns. And as goes for the stop loss and the stop win, we're going to set these numbers after we get them from creating the progression. So for now, we'll just go into progression levels and start building. Now, by default, it starts off on streets. So we'll just go in here and we're going to change the bet type from streets to dozens. And if you've been watching my videos, you'll know that I like to bet where the ball is landing, so the hottest. So we're going to leave that to hottest for the selection. And we're going to be betting on the two hottest dozens. And as goes for the starting unit, this is going to be a $1 starting bet. And of course, this is scalable, but for the sake of this video, we'll be starting with a $1 bet. And that's everything. Now I'm going to be adding columns to this progression after, but first I want to get the formula and the numbers that I need for the failure rate of 1/3 bet. So in this case, we're going to be betting on two of the hottest dozens. So I'm going to get the average failure rate of two of the hottest dozens, and we're going to be using 5 levels in this progression. So that's how many attempts we have, and the formula takes that into consideration as well. So we're going to get the numbers from this progression, and then we'll go ahead and add columns to it after. So I'll go ahead and save this level, and then we're going to copy that. And now all we have to do is triple the bet. This will be a triple martingale. That way, if we lose at a level, we get a full recovery at the next one. That'll be 27. And then the last one will be 81. Okay, now I can just go ahead and save this. And first, if I go back into the Edits tab and click here on Preview Risk Analysis, so this shows us that that last bet is going to cost us $162, and the bankroll we need for one of the third bets is $242 going down 5 levels. Now, I don't expect that the dozens and the columns are both going to reach level 5 at the same time. So the likeliness of that is slim, but it's possible. So we're just going to say we need a $500 bankroll for this. So we're going to round this to 250, and we're going to use 250 for each of the or 250 for columns, 250 for dozens. Now, each of these are going to be operating as independent bet groups, and I'll explain more about that once the progression gets going, but just wanted to give you an idea there. Now, if I go back into here, I can go $500 for the stop loss, and our stop win is going to be set to 10% of what the stop loss is. So in this case, the stop loss is $500, so it'll be $50. Now again, if you want your winnings to be higher than that, then just scale it up and increase your starting bet. And we can just put this to $500 as well. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do, so this is what I wanted to show you. This is where the formula comes in. So we have one of the third bets already done. So everything in roulette has a probability of happening, failure and success. So what we want to know is what's the failure rate of a third, right? With five, or well, in this case, sorry, with 2/3. We're using, oh, just excuse me 1 second. I have to bring the page back to life. We haven't been active on it. So we're betting on 2/3 of the board, so almost 66% or 24 numbers. So what I'm going to get is what the average failure rate is to have 24 numbers not hit over 5 attempts, okay? So we're going to get that probability right now. So I'll go right here into the risk button, and what I want is the risk probabilities. And if I scroll down here, and so this is the section I want to look at. Expected total spins before ruin, okay? And the number it gives us is 286. So this means that on average, once every 286 spins, this system will fail. Now, of course, it can fail 3 or 4 times within 286 spins, and it can also go 500 spins without failing at all. Okay, but this just gives us an idea of the probability. It's kind of the same as red and black. They each have a probability of 48.6% appearing, but they don't always appear exactly in that in that exact expected value. Just like you can see down here, we have all of these reds in a row in the history, right? And then you have 3 blacks. But if you took a big enough spin sample, you'll see that the red and the black do appear on average 48.6% of the time. So progressions also work the same way. So this just gives you an idea of the risk for your progression. Okay, if this number were lower, then the chances of it failing would more frequently would be higher, right? The bigger this number, the less frequent your progression will fail ultimately. So it's a general guide. Now, knowing this number, I use 20% of that number for my walkaway. So in this case, 286, let's just round that up to 300. So 300, 20% of 300 is 60 spins. Well, we're going to bring that down a little bit. Since we had to round this up, I would rather be a little bit short than a little bit over. So let's just make it 50 spins. Okay, so we're going to stay playing this progression for 50 spins. Now, we'll talk more about these details after, but for now, just know this is where I get my number from, and I'll put the formula up on the screen, and I will plug these numbers in and explain to you exactly how this works, because, of course, if you guys don't have this program to figure out what your risk rate is, how are you going to do that? So I will explain that in this video, and I've actually made other videos that do the same thing, but just for your convenience, I will explain it here also. Okay, so now that said, we now know what our risk is. We're going to stay for 50 spins. Let's go back and finish building the progression. So I'm going to go back into the Edit tab. We'll open the Progression Builder. And now it's just going to be easier for me to delete these levels and then to add another bet group. So we've already got dozens in here. Now I'm going to add columns. We're going to leave that at hottest, and we're going to be betting on 2 columns. And everything else can stay the same, and I'll save the level. Now I'll just go ahead and copy the level and triple all of these bets. And then the last level will be 81. Now that this is the last level, we want to make sure that the progression stops betting if the level does fail. And a failure would be if either one, the dozens or columns, loses at this level. So if it does lose at this level, what we're going to do is have it stop placing bets. So I'm going to set this when lose condition to stop placing bets. Okay, and that's it. The progression is built and we're ready to go. Or actually, I should say almost ready to go. I have to do 2 more things. First, I'm going to be setting my program to a sort of simulation mode. We're not going to be placing real bets on the table. I'm still showcasing how my program can come to a live wheel like this, and we can test strategies right here at the live wheel without ever actually risking any real money. I don't know about you guys, but I don't really like playing at RNGs. And so this program allows me to test strategies at real wheels without risking any real money. So to do that, I just go into my Play Money tab. I click on this Activate Safety Mode. And what that does is it prevents my mouse from actually clicking on the table and placing real bets. It's still going to be clicking and trying to place real bets, but if you notice when I pressed on that button, my screen got a little bit darker. That's because there's an overlay on my screen now that prevents my mouse from actually clicking on the screen or interacting with the elements behind the overlay. Okay, and now I just have to create a session. So we'll just call this, again, dozens and columns. And I'm going to give myself the $500 bankroll required. Okay, and I'm just going to click on this button, and as soon as that spin is detected, it's just going to go ahead and place the bets. So there we go. So it just clicked on the locations where it was going to place the bets, and we can see those bets here in the Stats tab. So look in the History window. You can see right here, it says that the bets were $1 placed on the second and third dozen, and the third column and second column. So we've got $1 on all of those, and it's using the statistics that the program has been collecting to know what's hot and what's not. And we just hit number 30. So number 30 is a third dozen and a third column. So we just won that bet. And now we're up $2. So as I said earlier, we have a 10% financial goal. And so if we make $50, that's when we're going to leave. Now, as goes for the spin target, that's the ultimate target. We don't want to stay any longer than 50 spins no matter what. So if we get to the 50th spin and we've only made $35, well, if you're in the middle of a progression and you're waiting to cash out, then fine, you can finish that, but then leave. Don't try to stay to win that extra, $15 or whatever you're short from your financial goal. You've hit 50 spins. The longer you stay, the higher your risk. And if understanding the risk factor of your progression is going to fail at, like in this case, 286 spins, you don't want to stay any longer than you have to. Or sorry, even any longer than you should. And I set that 20% hard target, and I never go beyond it. And of course, on the contrary, if we happen to make $50 before we get to that 50 spin target, then we take the money and run. We just leave, we don't stick around. Because we've made our $50, right? So right now we have, as you can see, so our dozens bet has reset back to level 1, but our columns bet is on level 2 now. So we've got a total of $8 on the table, $6 for our columns bet, and $2 for our dozens bet. And now number 13 is a second dozen win. So we're going to win on the dozens, but unfortunately we didn't win on the columns. We're betting on second and third column right now. So that's going to be a loss for the columns, and it just moved to level 3. And 29. Okay, so that's a second column. So that just came to fruition, and it's also a third dozen. So we won both bets. So now both bets are going to reset, or both bet groups are going to reset to level 1, and now we're up $7. And so 33 is going to be a win for both of those. So that'll be another $2 win. So this is the approach that I take to all of my progressions. In fact, now would be a good time. I'm just going to put that formula on the screen right now and show you guys exactly the steps that I go through when I want to plug my numbers into any roulette progression that I want to. Now, my program does this automatically for me. However, if you don't have access to the program, then, or if you don't have the program, then you'll need to do this manually. But it's very simple to do, and I'll show you what I do right now. And then we'll come right back to the table. This is the algebraic expression of our formula. I'll explain what it means, then we'll use the numbers from our progression, and we'll plug them into it. The number 1 represents our progression as a whole. This is our constant. This number never changes, and we will always subtract q from 1. Q represents the probability of a loss on one spin. Since we are betting on 24 numbers on a single zero roulette wheel, our probability of a loss is 13 over 37. 1 minus q represents the probability of a win on one spin. And since we are betting on 24 numbers, our probability of a win is 24 over 37. And q5 is the probability of consecutive losses. Now, let's turn our fractions into decimals so we can plug this into our formula. We know 1 minus q equals 24 over 37. If we divide these two numbers, we get 0.6486. We know q equals 13 over 37, and when we apply the exponent to that, we get 0.00537. Now we're ready to plug our numbers in. So risk equals 1 minus q5, which is 0.00537, and this will be over our probability of a win, which was 0.06486. And we will multiply that by q5, which was 0.00537. Next, we need to solve the top and bottom of this equation. So 1 minus 0.00537 equals 0.99463, and 0.6486 times 0.00537 equals 0.00348. Finally, all we need to do is divide these two numbers to get our total risk. So 0.99463 divided by 0.00348 equals 286. That is the total risk factor for any system with 24 number coverage and 5 attempts. Okay, so that's how that's done. And as you can see, it's not that difficult. And that final number that you get at the end, all you have to do is take 20% of that, and that's going to be the amount of spins that you stay at the table for. Because, you know, in roulette, as I've been saying in my videos all along, everything in roulette has a probability of happening, right? And just understanding the probability or the failure rate of your progression will just help you win more if you know when to leave. Oh, looks like we are. Just give me 1 second. I noticed that we're taking a bit of a dive now. I'm not concerned about it. I'm pretty confident we're still going to pull our way out of this, but I just wanted to see what level we're at. And it looks like the dozens bet is on level 3, and the columns bet is on level 2. And so our dozens bet just came in. We got that third dozen. And the columns bet also won. There we go. So we're up to $12 now. Yeah, as I was saying, you know, one of the biggest mistakes I think people make when they play roulette is they have in their mind a financial goal that they already want to make, you know, or a time limit. They'll stay for 15 minutes or half an hour, or, you know, they want to make $200 or whatever. The big question is, can your system sustain that kind of time or wait long enough for you to make that amount of money before it fails, right? And not every system is created equally. And what the formula takes into account, as you saw, was, it needs to know just, two simple things: the amount of coverage that you have and the amount or the attempts that you have, right? And that gives us a very solid probabilistic number. Perfect. So we've got $16 in the profit, and we are at, if you notice the win and loss rate, we're at a 90% win rate right now. And 16 will be second dozen, so we've got that covered. But in terms of columns, we don't have the second column hit, so or covered, so that's not going to be a win. So the columns went on to level 2, and the dozens reset back to level 1. Now, one thing I want to make clear too, guys, is although, using this formula and applying it to my progressions, I do win more. Oh, excuse me just 1 second. So yeah, applying this formula to my progressions, I do win more, but it's not a guarantee that you're going to win. Of course, anything can happen, but when you start looking at the probability of how often things can happen, it just gives you a better idea, right? And I know I've used this example before. If you've watched other videos, you'll hear me talk about 10 colors coming in a row, 10 black or 10 red. And of course, that can happen. In fact, it does happen. It happens all the time. On average, that happens about once every 1,000 spins or so. I've seen it happen 3 times in 1,000 spins, and then I've seen 2,000 spins where it didn't happen at all. But over 5 or 6,000 spins, you'll see that the distribution evens out, and it works out to have happened about once every 1,000 spins. So what I'm trying to point out here is, in the end, probability is what governs roulette. All right. It's kind of random, but not completely. Like, I can't tell you what the next number is going to be. I can't tell you when the next streak of 10 is going to be. I just know that on average, 10 comes every 1,000 spins. Just like your system failing. On average, it's going to fail, whatever that number is for whatever system that you're using. Right. So we're talking about probabilities and averages. Right. So when it comes to, say, colors in a row, sure, we see 10 in a row all of the time. I'm sure you've seen it, right? And maybe you sat down and you saw 10 twice in a session. I'm not sure how long your session was if you saw that, but for that to happen is a pretty infrequent event. If you have seen that, how many times have you seen it? Not very often. Why? Because it's probabilistically unlikely, right? And that's what it comes down to, is probability. So one thing that you're probably never going to see is a run of black. So like 10 black and then a red, and then 10 black and then a red, and then 10 black. I mean, it's possible, sure. There's a number that you can put to that, a probability, but the chances of that happening, now I haven't done the math and my example might be a little bit of an exaggeration to it, but you probably have a better chance of being struck by lightning twice in your life than witnessing that event. Okay. Is there a chance you'll be struck by lightning twice in your life? Sure, there is. But is it going to happen? Probably not. Right. So you have to think of roulette the same way. It's more about the probabilities. And if you understand the probability of events, then this will give you the tools you need to know when to leave. As I said earlier, every progression is different, right? Number coverage and attempts. That's what it comes down to. Run that through the formula. You'll know your risk and leave before you've overstayed your welcome. And just noticing our numbers, guys, we're doing great. We're on level 1 for both bet groups, dozens and columns, and we've made halfway to our goal, and we're only 17 spins in. And that was another full win from both of them. Now, this kind of system is fairly easy to track. Like you can monitor dozens and columns probably on your own. You wouldn't need software to do it, but I just wanted to show you guys, especially if you've been watching my videos, you haven't actually seen me go in and build a progression from scratch yet. So you got to see that today. And for those of you who are new, so that's what this program can do is, build pretty much any progression you want and execute the bets. But there are other advantages to using this program. Now, as I was saying, so this particular progression is fairly easy to deploy. You could probably do this on your own without any kind of software. But there are other systems that are like humanly impossible. For example, if you wanted to bet on, there's one progression that I like, and I use this a lot in my examples, where I bet on the hottest 18 numbers. So rather than betting on, some of the predetermined even bets, red, black, high, low, even, odd, I will set my program to bet on the 18 numbers that are hitting most frequently. Well, for one, the casino doesn't give you that kind of information. They only give you the hottest 5 numbers, right? So my program tracks the heat of every number on the board. Like I can show you here really quick if I go into the advanced stats tab. So, of course, the red ones are hot, the blue ones are cold. The redder it is, the hotter it is, the more blue it is, the colder it is. So to be able to know what numbers are the hottest, 18 of them, without using any software, and then to actually place 18 bets on the table in the 16 seconds that the casino gives you, you'd have to admit is probably humanly impossible. And even if you can get that first 20-cent bet or that single unit down on 18 numbers, what if you lose? Well, now you have to double your bet. So now you're clicking twice as many bets. And what if you have to use 2 denominations, right? So it just, the complexity of the bet just compounds as you go deeper into the compression or progression, and it becomes impossible for a human to do. So my program executes these bets no problem. Another advantage is, like I said earlier, playing at a play money table, right? It's I don't like playing at RNGs, and I find that when I play at a play money table, I tend to win more than playing at an RNG. And let me explain that, because so I don't place my bets randomly. I've always been betting on what is considered hot wherever the ball is landing. And so when I do that at a live table, this is where that kind of strategy shines, because it's not just a game of random when you're playing at a live dealer, because there's other things that are at play here. We're playing with a mechanical wheel. We're playing with a live human dealer. And so there's potential for bias. Now, sometimes it doesn't matter whether I'm betting on the hot sectors or not. And even though I should be winning 48% of the time, 48.6 to be exact, when I'm betting on half the table, sometimes I finish a session and I'll have only hit 44% of the time. So I'm below the expected value. And that can happen. Sometimes hot doesn't matter at all. But other times, more times than not, I'm finishing, at least 5 or 6% higher than I'm expected to. And so this works when I'm playing at a live table. And I just tend to win more when I'm doing that at a live table. When I play at an RNG, consistently, I lose more frequently than I do in compared to a live table. So when I first discovered that was one of the reasons why I decided to create this part of the program, the play money part of it, so that way I can try my strategies at live wheels without having to test them at an RNG. And it's been a great feature. So just another advantage to using a program like this. And this really is a roulette tool. It's not a number predictor. I know that there's some roulette tools out there that say that, if you put the last 5 numbers in, it can predict within a certain accuracy what the next spin will be or what the next number result will be. I mean, that's impossible. Unless your program is using some kind of physics engine that can track the speed of the ball and estimate roughly where it's going to land, that's about the closest you're going to get, right? There's no way you can put any amount of history into a software and have it predict what the next number is. So my program is not that. It does not do that and will not do that. it's a tool used for other things like placing bets. As I've said before, I haven't missed a bet since I've been using this program, right? It knows exactly where I want to bet. It places them and it never misses. It's just doing what it's told. And then, of course, the play money, another advantage. And then if like I like making data-based decisions, not everybody believes that data makes a difference, but like when you're playing with a live dealer, I think that's where it does. And that's why I like to bet on the hot sectors. So my program tracks the heat of every sector of the wheel. Like right now, I've got it set to individual numbers, as you can see. So that's what we're looking at right now in terms of heat. But if I wanted to look at the hot splits, I'll show you. I'll just go over here into splits and I'm just going to make sure, yeah, that's updating. So basically, the more red that this line is, the hotter the split is. So we can see 29 is a really, really hot split. So I'd probably want to place a bet on the 30-29, 26-29, 28-29, and 32-29 split. If I hit that 29, I'm going to get a 68 to 1 on my money, right? Now, it might never hit, but again, in my experience, when I bet on areas where the ball is landing, more so over a broader range, like to hope that the 29 is going to come just because it's hot. I mean, the fewer numbers you bet on, the less the chance that you're going to hit it, obviously. But regardless, if it's been hitting the 29 a lot over the last 50 or 100 spins, I mean, why not bet in numbers around the 29? So just saying, right? So that's splits. And then when it comes to streets, I'm just going to update that. And then as we can see, the streets. So those are the hot streets. And just give me a second. I'll go back to showing you corners in just a moment. The cursor just has to place its bets. And I'm noticing that we have taken a dive and we are actually on level 5 for the second and third dozen. So we need to hit something now or the progression is going to lose. So while we wait for that result to come in, I'll just show you, these are the corners, the hot corners, right? So if I wanted to bet, I'd probably want to place my bets on the right side rather than the left side. And we just hit that second dozen. And so that will reset the progression, the dozens progression right back to level 1. And there we go. We're at $34 profit. We still haven't made our session high yet because we've got our columns bet is on level 3 right now. So, and of course, we're going to get to level 5 sometimes. It happens, but that's why we have 5 levels. If we were only at 4 levels, well, the failure rate for one would have been smaller, which would have made our success window smaller, and we would have lost right there. And 31. So that's going to be a loss on the columns. Yeah, we're still on second and third column. So now we're going to level 4 on the columns. And I'll just bring this back to the individual numbers. And in fact, I'm going to bring this back to the main overview so that we can see what's going on here with the heat for the dozens and columns. And now 11. So that's second dozen, second column. So we just hit that. So now our columns bet is going to reset. And our dozens now is on level 2, but we just made a new session high. Now, if you notice our spins, we are 32 spins into this progression, and we're at $42. $42. We're almost we're only $8 away from winning right now. Another cool thing, actually, I'll show you guys something here in the performance tab. So this tracks if like specific events, like for example, as soon as something becomes kind of a rare event, it starts at 3. So like black is on a streak 4 in a row, and it gives you the probability of that happening. That only happens 6.953% of the time, or roughly 7 out of 100, right? And you will see over 100 spins, or maybe a slightly larger spin sample, that black did appear that many times. In this case, well, now 5 times. Sorry, I'm just tracking to see if we won. Okay, so we won that last one. We're at $46. Now black is still is on a hot streak. You can see down here 5 in a row, and 5 in a row only happens 4 times in 100 spins. And over a spin sample of 100 spins, you'll see that black did only appear 5 times. And I believe we have that covered both on the dozens and columns, so that'll bring us $2 closer to our target. And we're only $2 away, guys. We are just about there. And we are on spin 35 right now. And this should be our last casino refresh. Now, if I go down here, see, we're betting on dozens and columns. So look over here. Third column has not appeared in 6 spins, which only happens 9.5% of the time, or roughly 10 times out of 100 spins. And I'm not on that screen right now. I'm just on the stats tab. And it looks like we won both of those bets since my cursor is not betting. Yep. So there we go, guys. We just hit $50. That was our target, and we did it in 35 spins. So again, not a bad take. This was maybe 15 or 20 minutes of play, and we made $50 very easily. Now I'm done. I've applied the formula. These were the hard targets that I set, and I get to walk away a winner. I beat the casino again. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What do you think of the formula? Is that something that you're going to use? Let me know what's on your mind. I'm curious. I really want to read all of your comments. Now that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. And once again, if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I do appreciate it. And on that note, I will see you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye for now.
It's not luck, it's math. The count, watch the pressure build, then pounce. Same wheel spin, same house game, but knowledge shifts, who feels the pain? Bedmaster on, I don't guess tonight. I wait for the edge, then strike it right. They call it chance, I call it proof. Numbers don't lie, the math goes through.